Hello everybody, welcome to another daily dose of gaming news and all that good stuff. And as always, I also publish everything on Rumble, here on the blogger as an archive post thing, and for extra support everything is also on Patreon. And again, any kind of updates or anything like that, Twitter X, it's where I post things. Later today, I cannot promise, but I will try to get around and do some streaming Elden Ring. We'll see how it goes. I got a lot of stuff on my plate at this moment in time. We'll see how it goes. I cannot promise anything, but again, keep your eyes on Twitter. Usually I tweet out around 10 minutes before the proper stream starts. Yeah, keep your eyes on it. What else? Tomorrow we got the Jedi Fallen Order, then afterwards Mutant Year Zero, A Road to Eden. Yeah, basically this is it at this moment in time with channel stuff. Let's go to the news. Yeah, I don't think I have anything more to announce at the moment. We got officially the GDDR7 kind of standard proposed from GDEC, which is the consortium, Solid State Technology Association, whatever this is. Yeah, it's a lot of corporate talk there, but it's basically officially announced the standard. Again, here and there, when I cover this, again, it's basically double bandwidth of GDDR6. Same for GPU stuff, mainly because of I think they accelerated a little bit more, mainly because of graphics, gaming, compute, and AI applications. I think the main thing is for AI applications because of the current bubble of AI at this moment in time. But yeah, got a lot of technical stuff there, technical jargon there that I don't understand very well. But yeah, and we got also industry support. Again, AMD, Micron, Nvidia, Samsung, SK Hynix. I think I never know if it is Micron, but I think it's SK Hynix was acquired by AMD. Yeah, AMD. Yeah, AMD a few years ago. They are very memory like manufacturer specialists, from what I understand. I think they help out with the Infinity Fabric or whatever they call on the chiplets on the AMD GPUs and CPUs. I think they are very heavily involved on that, and they help out on that thing there. But yeah, all the industry is on accord with this and on board. Again, I'm not sure when this is going to be applicable. Hopefully, they can manage to get around this and start introducing this on the next GPU phase, not phase, and not even lineup family. So the next generation of GPUs, because it's good to see at least how this will handle in, for example, lower end cards, because you got the VRAM stuff and the fact that you got plus how clamshell setups, for example, the 4060 Ti 16 gigabytes and the 7600 XT, they are the memory, the double band memory is just double the memory in terms of VRAM. The bandwidth of the memory itself, it's still the same, and I don't know how it memory in terms of clamshell production can take advantage of this, of having a higher. I assume it will have, but how it compares with previous generations if they start doing this also. But yeah, overall thing is it's set up the graphics memory standard here. Regarding gaming news, we got Horizon Forbidden West. Oh my god, specs requirement, PC requirements is what I want to talk about. Again, pretty good. Again, this is from Decima engine, which is a kind of light engine in GPU demand, at least. For example, I got the Death Stranding. It's also in Decima engine. It's like an offshoot, but it's the core of the game engine is Decima engine. And it runs very smoothly. I can play 4K, more than 144 Hz, everything maxed out. The game itself is not very heavy, Death Stranding, from what it tries to achieve, but it's a very light engine. You can get around with a lot of stuff there. I'm not sure about Horizon, the first one, not the Forbidden West, the other one, uh, Horizon Zero Dawn, whatever it's called. Yeah, again, very low settings. Again, of course, this is 720p, 30 frames. You got the GTX 1650 and RX 5500 XT, which are basically 4 GB VRAM stuff. Again, very still, you don't see a lot this on newer games here trying to achieve even this. But again, recommendation is around 1080p, 60 frames. You can get around with a 3060 or a 5700 or equivalent there. The only thing that it's big here is 150 gigabytes of SSD. At least that's the recommendation there. I think this one has direct storage kind of features for PC, so that's why they recommend SSD to try to take advantage of that. Of course, preferably, supposedly it's an NVMe to do that, to take advantage of the direct storage there. But yeah, it's good to see that it's not a very heavy game in terms of demanding the PC requirements. And of course, very high. Again, this is 4K 60. A 4080 or a 7900 XT. Here I think it has to do more with the VRAM stuff, because the 4080 has 16 gigabytes and the 7900 XT has 20 gigabytes of VRAM, but performs very lower than the 4080. In terms of comparison of just pure raw performance, the 4080 is more capable with the XTX. I think here is more about the VRAM demands there. Again, very high. You get high fidelity graphics. You get a lot of textures and everything, and all the fidelity in terms of visual representation of the game. Again, because even in CPU you don't see this very high demanding, like 11th core. An Intel Core 11th Gen or a 5700X. From the Ryzen part there, not very high demanding for 4K. Usually, again, 4K, the huge difference that it makes mostly, as a general rule, is the GPU there, which is, again, it's high end, but you're demanding 4K 60 with very high presets in terms of graphic fidelity. So I assume you can achieve 4K 60, and if you tweak a little bit on the graphic settings, you can get around with a 4070 Ti-ish super, around that ballpark, and even the 7800 XT or 7900 GRE, something in those lines. But yeah, good to see there is quite a light game engine per se, the Decima engine. And I also would like to see what this will translate, for example, in Death Stranding 2 and other Kojima production engines, because they adopted that engine. I think it's very high customizable also. And from what I understand, should be easy enough to work with, because at the time Kojima went around checking game engines at the time, and he decided for Decima engine for the fact that supposedly it's easy to work with, and can have very realistic kind of approach there in terms of graphic fidelity, and it's light on consoles and even on PC hardware. But yeah, it's good to see that we at least, I think majority of the people will get around to play at least 1080p 60 frames per second, or with some tweaks here and there on the graphic settings if we have older hardware. Then we got Hogwarts Legacy 2. Again, everybody knows it will come because it was a success. Again, around 24 million units sold, less than a year, give or take. And probably one of the news that we'll be seeing, that the sequel should be done in Unreal Engine 5, given that there is some job ad recruitment for that, for this specifically version of Unreal Engine. So if we get the second game from Hogwarts Legacy, it should be in Unreal Engine 5. Now, there was this lady, I don't know, it just says JB Perret, I don't know if it is, he's a guy, okay, this guy, which She's the CEO and president of Global Streaming and Games at Warner Brothers Discovery. Again, a lot of statements here show how they really don't understand how the gaming community likes their things. They just the way again the corporate talk is just money, 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 money. They just want the stable income of money throughout the quarters, because the way he speaks about relatively also to Hogwarts Legacy 2. Yeah, this is again at for all things appearance at the Morgan Stanley Technology Media and Telecom Conference, which is by itself just guys that just want to get rich at the expense of other people. Yeah, he went to say that AAA console market is inconsistent and the goal is to entice players on the ongoing basis instead of just going for one-off launches. Again, this is the vision that they had. They just want to milk people's money on just one game if possible, because in terms of development costs, if you just make, supposedly in their minds, you just make one game and make that game, support it as long as you can, let's say 10 years, and the development cost and maintenance of that game, servers and and the infrastructure associated with it will be cheaper than making, for example, 5 games that are pretty good and sell better, because you get more profit out of that game than just trying to make good games that sell pretty well. That's their approach basically, which really doesn't, they really don't understand how normal people and normal gamers just want a good experience, a good story to play with, good gameplay, and move on to the next thing. Because it still is like watching the same movie over and over and over and repeat, for even if the movie is pretty good, if you don't have like a break out of that movie, you just stop enjoying the movie. So yeah, I don't know what to tell these guys here, but yeah, today the majority of our business revolves around 4 main forms of IP in games, again, which are all billion-dollar plus businesses, so they say, which is Mortal Kombat, which I don't think it's selling pretty good. Got Game of Thrones with, I don't even remember which kind of Game of Thrones games there are. I think only mobile or stuff like that. You got the Harry Potter and the DC World, which again, you tried already a live service with the Suicide Squad and it's working like shit. I don't know why you are insisting on double down on shit, and instead of trying to refine things and see that it's not every day that you sell 24 million units of a game on an IP, even as well known as Harry Potter. But yeah, what you can do with this kind of people. But then continuing, the challenge we had is our business historic has been very AAA console. Again, they just even don't recognize there is PC market to explore there, which is very interesting. As you know, that's a great business. When you have a hit like Hogwarts Legacy, it makes a year look amazing. Again, they just speak, not taking in account of, they just taking in account money. That's it. It makes a year look amazing. And then unfortunately, when you don't have releases, or unfortunately we've also had disappointments with just the Suicide Squad, this quarter is not as strong. It just makes it very volatile. No, it makes volatile when you release shitty games. That's make it volatile, because when you start getting a studio just starts to get around a hit and a miss, you're kind of volatile, because people don't know if the next game that you're going to publish is going to be a hit or a miss, and so they constrain themselves on buying the game. You have examples like Ubisoft, you have examples like EA. In some those IPs that they have, when they start, people get fatigued also from IP. If you just launch almost every year like the Ubisoft did with Assassin's Creed, people get fed up because it's the same stuff with a different visual skin. People get burned out of the same kind of a thing there, and these guys don't seem, they think people just want the same thing with a different visual skin. That's what they think. and that's what they try to do, and they try to convince the players that are buying their product that it's what they want, which is not true, because we've been seeing how games are selling, which games are selling, and if it is single player, multiplayer. If you got excellent multiplayer games, you got, for example, Helldivers 2, which has been being very successful. I don't know. It's got a different twist. It's not a huge IP like a DC Comics or comic book IP, or even like a French movie franchise. It's just something on their own. They just focus on people having fun while they're playing the game, and people will stick around if they have fun playing the game. That's basically it. And if you just focus, we just need to squeeze out all the money that we can from players in the long run, and even on the short term, usually it doesn't work. But then again, continue. We think the opportunity for us in games is a bit of a long, multi-year business cycle, is to take those 4 franchises to be able to develop much more holistic approach. Again, they talk about holistic approach, but they don't do any kind of holistic approach. The holistic approach is to cut costs and to drive up profits. It's what the holistic approach they mentioned here. Particularly around the expanding to the mobile and multi-platform free-to-play, which could give us a much better, more consistent set of revenue. Again, that's the holistic approach. It's putting it in mobiles, free-to-play, with huge amounts of microtransaction, so they can see a more consistent set of revenue. That's their holistic approach, which is just corporate talk of bullshit. Secondary live services, again, it's the same thing. This is basically a live service. You're just providing a service for free and trying to get around and see if people buy microtransactions in game to keep your stuff up. And again, rather than just nothing one and done console game, how do develop a game around, for example, Hogwarts Legacy, that it is a live service where people can live and build and play in that world on an ongoing basis. Again, if you go forever around living in the same Hogwarts Legacy, people will get fed up. It will be maybe good 1 year or 2, but by the end, the cost of development and maintenance of those servers and the people that are working on the game will not compensate the lack of sales that you're going to have. Again, this is, unless there is 1 in thunders, I don't know. It's very rare. It's something. It's like trying to catch lightning in the bottle, and if you have everybody trying to catch lightning in the bottle, they will not work. We think we've got the franchises. You think that's the problem. You think a lot. We've got some of the greatest studio capabilities, that we have a roadmap, a strategic investment plan to try and build out that business. We think there's meaningful growth over the course of the next couple of years. Again, the growth that they mean is just money. Never forget that these guys don't know how games work. They don't even care too much. They just want to. They just see the world as investment and ROIs, return on investment. It's how they see the world. They don't see if the game is fun, if people will have fun playing the game. They just want people engaged in the product. It's what they see, and they just want return on that initial investment. Just because they think they're going to have a lot of return on investment because they have a recognizable IP, they think they just can do whatever they want and people will just get along. And people don't have, especially at this point in time, they don't have a lot of money to spend on having fun and time. These guys forget that the day is only have 24 hours, and most people that play games, they have or a daytime job or at least a couple of part-time jobs, and they just play 1 or 2 hours per day probably, or sometimes they can get around play a little bit more. They have families to take care of, and they just don't think, because they don't live lives like normal people live, and they think they have 24 hours per day to spend on spend money that comes out of thin air to give them return on investment on the game itself. I don't know how these guys just think that things should be as they think they are. And of course, there is a reference here on the article that the conundrum is that delivering a successful live service game is easier said than done. Yeah, that's my point also. Even a massively successful studio like Naughty Dog failed to deliver Last of Us Online, which is was a disaster. Even guys from Destiny were called up and they say that it is impossible because the game is not fun enough to keep people engaged, which is a huge issue when you have something that is supposedly to engage people at a long-term time. Yeah, but yeah, probably most likely they will try again. After a huge success on a single player game, they're going to try to make this as a game as service, and it's going to bomb and fail, and they're going to blame gamers because they didn't spend time there or play the game. But yeah, basically it's going to happen here. But yeah, this kind of guys, they just yeah. But the blame is on the publisher. It's not about the developers. Developers, they just want to make good games, and hopefully they will sell well. And when I say good games, is fun games or particularly good at something, or like gameplay, or be more realistically more graphic fidelity there, or something like that. It just make good games in the overall terms. The problem usually is the publisher. But yeah, let's see how Hogwarts Legacy will go in the future. And of course, these guys don't even care about launching a pretty decent optimized. You got the. It's my pet peeve to a certain degree is the series that I've been doing at the moment, Jedi Fallen Order. By the time since 2019, I think it should be more patched up in terms of game optimization, especially on the engine part, given that it's Unreal Engine 4. Got a lot of vertical centering still, and even some stuff that could be smoothed out, like the auto bounce stuff. Regarding when you go around in the level, there a lot of weird stuff happens. But yeah, a lot of things could be polished out, but they will not polish out because the publisher doesn't want that to be the experience that players have. Because if it is for developers, they will for sure they will polish out because it's in their own interest to launch a good game and maintain that good game. But again, the publishers have control of what happens to the game to a certain degree, more than the developers do. But yeah. We got supposedly also Titanfall game is reportedly in development. Again, it can be misleading a little bit there. It's still on the prototyping phase, which is basically usually a handful of developers throwing around ideas, trying to see concepts, maybe do some mock-ups of some stuff. But it's very early. It's prototyping phase. It's even then after the prototyping phase, you got pre-production, then production, and so this is a phase that it can be cancelled or just thrown to the bin, the project itself. Again, this is from Respawn. Again, the same guys from Jedi Fallen Order and oh my god, Survivor. Supposedly they are still working on the third game from basically it's a trilogy, basically the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Survivor, and then the third, I don't know which one will be. They want to still, at least EA wants to still make that game. And again, if the game is going around, this Titanfall one, supposedly it's not going to be a sequel. Again, there's a lot of speculation around. Again, prototyping phase can be anything. Can be they might trying to get around making a sequel, a prequel, or an offshoot of the main series. Again, I never played Titanfall, even though from what I understood, the first one was very well received. The second one, not so much, because I think they also had in the development stage some constraints from the publisher regarding how Titanfall should be. I think they did. Again, EA wanted to focus more on the multiplayer side, and they remove a lot of the focus on developing the single player story, which is one of the things that I think had the most players engaged, is the story story single player, and then again the multiplayer was like a complement on that for you to experience a little bit more on how you go about the Titans, I think they're called, the mechs there. But yeah, hopefully, Respawn is a pretty good developer. Again, they are to a certain degree constrained from EA. They were acquired in 2017. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it goes, especially the third game. I hope it gets better polished out than Survivor, because Survivor still has some issues. It's better than Fallen Order from what I've seen, but it could have been a little bit better. And lastly, we got Dragon's Dogma 2. Again, they're still around the thing on the uncapped frame rate, around 30 frames on consoles, whatever it is. Again, from what I understood, on PC, which is the platform that I use, it's going to be unlockable or uncapped. You can tweak there. I suppose it's going to be a lot of options for you to mess around and try out. I think the main worry is regarding consoles. Again, this is a huge game. The engine itself, I think it's the biggest first foray of the RE engine in terms of adapting everything to an open world setting, if not mistaken. Because then we got Monster Hunter Wilds, which will come out in the near future supposedly. But in terms of open world, this engine, I'm not sure about its capabilities, but again, it's look gorgeous from all the previews that I've been seeing. Everybody's excited for this game. The only worry is about the 30 frames, but I think they're going to aim, from what I understand, for 30 frames on console without any kind of performance mode and quality mode, because how the game is so big that it just needs to be fine-tuned to run as smoothly as possible at 30 frames on both consoles. So yeah, I think you're not going to have like performance mode or quality mode. I think it's going to be a fixed thing, because it's the way they can better fine-tune that everything for the game runs quite smoothly, or as smoothly as possible in consoles. But again, PC, you got a lot of stuff that you can tweak around for sure. And again, I think the first Dragon Dogma was mainly PC. Not sure, never played the game. Again, it's one of those games that you heard but you never play, even though if you want. But again, but yeah, I'm excited for this game to see how it goes. I think it's going to do very well, and I think it's going to look gorgeous, either on console or on PC, and for sure you will see that on the reviews itself. And lastly, I just gotta give a quick shout out to the Thaumaturge reviews. I didn't see too much of them, but yeah, so far the overall consensus seems to be around pretty decent game. For I understand, got again, some people just go game of the year almost, but yeah, the consensus seems to be around between 75 to 80. Most of the reviews, some of them are lower. Yeah, I will leave the Steam page on the description below, along with all the article, a link to the articles there. Yeah, it seems to be a pretty decent one. Again, isometric RPG. Yeah, and you got a lot of detective stuff. It's not very actiony, from what I understood. You got a lot of stuff that it's very lore specific, if that makes sense. Got more spiritual stuff, a lot of investigation, a lot of dialogue, a lot of choices there. It has its combat, it's turn-based combat, but I think it's a very very faithful to the original IP, if not mistaken. I think this is based on the book or something like that. But yeah, I think it's a different take, and it seems to be a pretty decent one. So I will leave the Steam page there on the description there. Regarding gaming deals, you got jusant still 25% off. We got shardpunk 30% off, and if you're not sure, you got the demo here to see if it's something that suits you. We got Alien Start Descent 38% off, seems now a pretty good one. All the bugs and the quirkiness that was at launch, it's already been patched from what I understand. We got Lords of the Fallen 40% off. Again, the mixed results here can vary depending on your experience and how you it's more about the expectations about how you about the game itself than other than if the game is good or not. At least that's my opinion so far. Again, I never played the game, so from what I understand, it's more about the expectation that people had for this game than the game itself. And last, you got the Bioshock collection here, get around 80% off on the bundle itself. Again, this bundle is the Bioshock 1 and 2 remastered versions, Bioshock Infinite, and all the DLC from all the Bioshock 2 and Bioshock Infinite. And on GOG, we have now Alan Wake on sale. Again, this is not the remastered version from what I understand. This is like the normal version, the PC port, but it's 70% off. Again, not sure. I think I got this on Steam, so yeah. But there is a remastered version, but I think it's Epic Game Store exclusive at this moment in time. And I usually don't like platform exclusivity, but yeah, I think the remastered version is only on Epic Game Store. And we still have Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition here on GOG, 75% off. And finally, we got Wastelands 2 Director's Cut Digital Deluxe Edition, 75% off. Again, Digital Deluxe Edition is the one that I recommend, or even the Classic Edition. The difference is not that much, I think, around $4, give or take. Again, this is a pretty good game. I did start doing a series on this one, then I had to move out of the country and I stopped doing everything video YouTube related. But yeah, I remember playing around a little bit more. I think I finished the game and I quite enjoy it. Again, this is a pretty good RPG here. And yeah, this is what I got for you today. Again, I cannot promise anything later regarding the streaming on Elden Ring. I have my plate full for this week. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. So until then, Kunamy Master out.